Danny Gaffon for Boxing News, delighted to be joined by trainer Jamie Moore ahead of a very busy night for the stable. But when you have these fight nights in Manchester, I feel like you've always got a busy night, Jamie. You've got Jack Catterall, you've got Alfie Bitterness, Aqib, Fiaz and Pat Brown. All systems go Saturday night.
Yeah, busy night. We've had 4 on before, so we have done it. It was good that we've had a little bit of a test run, because obviously when you're that busy on the night, it doesn't always run smooth. But I think we've got it all boxed off now.
You've got Dave Allen there. He's becoming quite the cornerman. He said, I've interviewed him in night. He said he's never been better at putting the stool in and out. So we've got him having a helping pair of hands.
He's great asset to have around, Dave. But he did forget Aqib's gum shield last time, and in all honesty, it was the fastest I've ever seen him run, and the most I've ever seen him sweat afterwards. So it was good crack actually. I wish they'd have filmed it.
Let's talk the boxing. Jack Catterall, Harlem Eubank. Jack's first fight at 147 pounds. Ask Jack the question and I'll ask the same to you. Do you notice a difference in him as we approach the fight compared to when there would have been maybe a bit more focus on making weight? How much that extra half a stone, does that help him? Do you see a change in Jack compared to when he was campaigning at 140 this stage?
I never even thought about it beforehand, but I have noticed a big difference this week. You know, his energy levels are way higher. His last couple of punching sessions, whereas a lot of the time he's low on energy, he's been really high and sharp as a razor this week. So the impact of making weight, a lot of the time, you don't really. I don't think it's measurable a lot of the time until you go into situations like this and you can see it afterwards. So I'm looking forward to seeing his performance at 147, because for the last 2 or 3 years I've been saying to him, maybe it's time to move up. He's sort of been in between that area where he's a big 140, but he's maybe not quite big enough to be a big 147. Maybe he was stuck in between, like 143, 144. But certainly in terms of energy, he'll be more full of it this Saturday.
Do you think that move up would have came slightly sooner had it not been for how good a position Jack was in at 140 and how the world title fight always just seemed to be one fight away? Do you think in other circumstances we would have saw him move the welterweight perhaps a bit sooner?
Yeah, I think we was after the first fight with Josh Taylor, he was always sort of, what do we do? Even then we were sort of, do we go 147 now or do we try and push for the rematch? And obviously, because it was such a controversial first fight, we all decided to push for the rematch, and it's actually worked well for Jack. He's put him in a really good position. The Barbosa loss was such a close fight, could have gone either way, and unfortunately it didn't go our way. But in many ways, going into the Eubank fight now, first fight up at 147, coming off the back of a close defeat, he's probably getting Jack at the wrong time, because you can really see Jack's got the bit between his teeth. He feels like he's got a point to prove. So yeah, the move up and coming off the back of the loss, he's probably, as a combination, it's going to be a good thing for Jack, because he's got motivation.
You lead me quite nicely on to my next question, is just what do you think of Harlem Eubank as a fighter? What did you make of his performance against Tyrone McKenna? Obviously someone Jack shared the ring with, albeit quite a long time ago, and perhaps like Jack Harlem's maybe not the biggest, 147, not long moved up to the weight himself. Just what's your scouting report on Harlem Eubank as a fighter? Yeah,
listen, Tyrone was way past the fight of what he has been in the past. He's certainly had better days. Eubank's performance was good, solid. He's a good athlete. In terms of the level he's at, nobody knows what level he's at until you've actually boxed people at world level. People might be going, he isn't a world class fighter, but he hasn't boxed at that level yet, so who's to say he is or not? So that remains to be seen on Saturday. But what I do know is Jack Catterall, he's very good at adapting himself. He's very good at controlling tempos. He's very good at sort of manipulating people, and Harlem hasn't got that type of experience at this level. So we'll see what happens on Saturday, but one thing's for sure, I think it's going to be a great fight.
Spoke to Jack, and obviously he's not looking past Saturday, but I just wondered what your thought as Jack's trainer was in terms of the landscape at 147. Jack's someone who no one's probably going to give a voluntary title defence against. Have you had any idea of a route you're going to go down? There's talk of potentially the IBF world title being on the line for Paddy Donovan and Lewis Crocker. That'll be an interesting all British/Irish fight. You've got Manny Pacquiao, Mario Barrios, interesting one. Just has there been any early thoughts on a route Jack's going to go down, or has the focus just been Saturday night?
As always for Jack, like you just mentioned there, he's always been that sort of who needs him club, and whichever route we could get for a world title, we'd be more than happy to take. I think Crocker Donovan, the winner of that, I feel like it's a huge fight for Jack. So you know, in terms of preference, if that was going to be able to be made, then obviously we'd love to have that opportunity. But any world title fight what Jack can get, we'd be open to. Like you mentioned Pacquiao there, and I did an interview last week saying, you know, I'm just really not sort of a fan of that type of stuff. Manny at that sort of age, I think he's a year younger than me, so you know, he's still fighting now. He's crazy, but so I wouldn't be keen, you know, if somehow he comes through that and wins, then I just wouldn't want to see Jack in there with him, just for the fact that, you know, he's an absolute legend, and I would worry for him. I would worry for his safety, but you know, hopefully that scenario doesn't unfold. And if we can get the IBF title against the winner of Crocker and Donovan, what a fight that'd be.
Yeah, for sure. Jamie, just a word on Aqib Fiaz. Late change of opponent, and you know, sometimes we see late opponents come in and there's a bit of underwhelming, but this one I feel it's been the opposite. A lot of people think this could be a tougher fight. Alex Murphy coming in for the Mikey Gomez Jr. Alex, a sort of career 140 pounder, had a really good fight with Khalil Majid. Just was there any hesitation about jumping in with Alex Murphy, different stylistically to Mikey Gomez, and in the opinion of many people a better fighter too?
No, I think when you've got so much confidence in your fighter, it's very hard to come up with an opponent at short notice where you worry about it. I know Alex. Alex is a good, solid fighter. He's from where I'm from. He's from Salford. So we've known Alex. He's been to the gym many times. He's been sparring. And in many ways, I agree. I think it could be a more difficult opponent than Gomez. That doesn't mean to say that I feel like it's a dangerous fight, because I felt like Aqib has the style, the ability to beat Gomez and do a number. But Alex, you know, he's got different types of attributes than Gomez. Gomez is a very good body puncher. Alex is more of a boxer. He's not a massive puncher. Put in a great performance against Majid. So you know, it was a close fight, and Aqib's going to have to be on it, but he is. You know, he feels like he's got a point to prove. He's up at 135 now, so there's that extra couple of pounds is going to benefit Aqib, and I'm looking forward to him putting in a good performance.
Well, to go to Jimmy, got to get a word on Dave Allen. Crazy 6 months, crazy year. He's been linked with Deontay Wilder, Joseph Parker, but I've just spoke to him on Nige, and sounds like it's perhaps that British title fight with Jimmy TKV. It's a belt that Dave's always wanted. Is that the route you wanted him to go down?
In an ideal world, I wanted it to be progressively a step up for him, because when he's in this sort of mindset of, you know, building on the previous performance, and he's in the gym training, which is a sight to see. You know, it's for Dave Allen, him being in the gym consistently for so long, he's unheard of. So I'm loving the fact that he's found this newfound love for the sport at this stage of his career. So I did want it to be more of a staged sort of increase in opponents, because I don't think it's out of Dave's reach to be able to beat Deontay Wilder or Joseph Parker if it's done in the right way. It'd be silly to turn down the opportunity at this stage, because, you know, you never know when they're going to come round again. But in an ideal world, I'd rather him have a fight or two before that to build on this momentum, and, you know, it looks like that's what we're going to get, so I'm over the moon for him.
How do you think that fight between him and TKV looks stylistically? We saw Jamie was doing well against David Adelaide before the controversial ending to that. He's been defeated in his career. It's a fight I'm sure, even speaking to you now, you'd be confident in?
Yeah, definitely, and more so because of the way Dave's performing. And again, the same scenario as what I'm talking about with Aqib Fiaz and all my fights in the gym. The confidence I have in Dave now, he's training and performing well. He's way different than the scenarios from the Dave Allen who we've been working with before. And I'm glad that persistence with him and that trust what we've got as sort of fighter and coach and friends, really. You know, I've known Dave for a long time, and he doesn't trust many people at all, and it took a long time for us to get to the point where we've built that trust, and he now understands and believes in himself, which is the most important thing. So, you know, the world's his oyster.
Last thing I want to get your thoughts on, Jamie. We saw the rematch between Conor Benn and Eubank Jr. announced, and I think a few eyebrows were raised, a few words of concern aired that it's going to be the same stipulations as the first fight. Eubank's going to have to make 160 and then 170 the next day. Just your thoughts on that. What were your thoughts first time round? Should that be happening again under those terms?
Well, everyone struggles at making weight, and 160 for Eubank, he's made it, 2 or 3 times before he missed weight, and he missed weight by sort of razor thin amount. So I don't think that's an issue. But what I do have an issue with all the time is a stipulation that you can't put on weight after the official weigh-in. I just think it's crazy. It's nonsense, because the official weigh-in is the official weigh-in. So when you've made weight, it's absolutely no one else's concern what you weigh the next day. So I don't agree with that bit. But the first fight was a hell of a fight, and Chris Eubank had energy in that fight to perform the way he did and come out with a win. So who's to say he can't do it this time? But I feel like the person who's going to have got more from the first fight and grown more and improved more is probably Conor Benn, which makes the rematch very, very interesting.
It's interesting when you talk about rehydration clauses. Quite recently finished Carl Frampton's book, and he's always been someone who's not been a fan of them. He had to make the IBF one. Carl's someone you know well, and it feels like there's not too many people in boxing who are fans of rehydration clauses.
No, and there's a reason for that, because there's a lot of stresses what are involved in making weight, and after you've made weight, you just want to relax and focus on the fight at hand. You don't want to still have to worry about or stress about, or even it being a point of conversation or concern. It should just be all about focusing on the fight. When you've got to do that right up until the morning of the fight again after the weigh-in, for me, it's crazy.
Well, Jamie, I appreciate you giving me some of your time. I know it's going to be a very busy week for you, as it always is, and yeah, thanks for speaking to Boxing News.
Cheers, thanks.
Yeah, appreciate it. Top man, Jamie.